Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Amanda. How are you?
I am fan freaking tastic. How are you?
Good, good. It's great to be here with you.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, sir. What an interesting topic we get to talk about. I have not been able to do an interview with anyone of your caliber or talent, and I think this is very interesting. Let's talk about your new book that you have coming out with We Never Die: Secrets of the Afterlife. You wrote this during the pandemic,
I did, yes.
and what you had to get stuff out. Is that why you wrote it?
No, actually, I wrote it for a different reason. The reason why I wrote this book is during the pandemic, more so now than ever, people have come to me asking all different questions because everybody during the pandemic was faced with losing a loved one, knowing someone who had lost a loved one, being in fear themselves, not being able to see their loved ones. And until we're up close in front with death ourselves, it's not until that moment that we start looking for answers. So
Right.
all of a sudden, the moment that the world shut down, all of a sudden my inbox was flooded. People were coming to me asking me, Matt, is there an afterlife? Is there a heaven? Matt, I need to know, is my mom at peace? Is my dad at peace? Did my brother reconnect with my mom in heaven? What are they doing in heaven? Where is heaven? What does heaven look like? So what's so amazing is this, is that I've taken all of those questions that everybody asked me, including, the push button questions, like what happens to evil people? What happens when we didn't get to say goodbye? What happens when someone passes of suicide? And I put it all in my new book, We Never Die: Secrets of the Afterlife, for one reason. I'm hoping that this book takes away the fear of death because we
Mm.
all know what that fear is like through what we felt through in the pandemic. And
Yeah.
I think that if people can see things through my eyes as a medium and see what I see in the afterlife, then they'll know one thing. They'll know that death is not real. It's just a change in worlds.
Mm. Beautifully put. Uh, Do you ever find that when you're having a reading with someone, when you're talking to them, that something comes through that is actually, I mean, we see all of the amazing, I get to tell you one last time I love you kind of moments, but are there any moments where you're like, oh, I don't want to have to tell you this, but this is what I'm being told I need to tell you?
Absolutely. So I can tell you that as a medium, those moments happen all the time. Where literally there's readings that I will do where I won't want to say what the other side is telling me. But I
Yeah.
made a policy when I first started doing this work, and that is that I am only the messenger, and I have to say every single thing that the other side tells me, whether I like it or not. And if I don't say it, then I'm in the wrong business. So that
Well, and
being
like,
said,
okay.
there's things that come up that are really hard. For example, there was a woman who, reached out to me who was going through a divorce and she connected with her mom that had passed away through me. And her question to her mother was, how can I save this marriage? And unfortunately, her mother's advice from the spirit world was that there was nothing that she could do.
Mm.
And the only thing that she could do, because she was holding on and holding on and holding on to this marriage, I actually talk about this in my book. The only thing that she could do was to let this person go because this person didn't love her. And,
Mm.
that was the only way that she was going to be able to find inner peace and happiness in her life in this world. So that was something that was very hard. It was a very hard message for me to deliver. It was a very hard thing for me to tell her. And it was also very hard information for her to hear. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I know that it brought her healing. And, even though she didn't know it at that moment, I know now, years later, that when she made those steps, how much it improved her life. And that's what the spirit world knows. And that's the reason why they come through with these messages for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you said, since you've been doing this is something that you realized you had when you were a small child. It's been passed down from your grandmother. What was it like as a kiddo? I mean, I can't imagine how scary it would be to have these different voices and to see these different presences and not know how to compartmentalize or how to like focus in and what's the word I'm even looking for? Just make it understandable.
So growing up, I was petrified. Growing up was literally like living that movie, The Sixth Sense for me. Every time I went to bed, every time I was alone, I was seeing and hearing the departed. But being so young, I didn't know what they wanted. I never
Yeah.
realized that I was a psychic. I literally thought that I was being haunted by ghosts. It wasn't until later on in life, after pushing this gift away for years and years and years, that I went to see a psychic medium for myself, and it completely changed me. And I wanted to see a medium because you got to understand that even though my grandmother was a medium and my mom was a medium, this was something that was very much hidden in my family. You know, everybody suppressed their gifts. Nobody talked about it. Nobody did this publicly. I'm the first one. So, you know, it wasn't until I saw a medium myself that I realized, oh my God, this isn't something to be afraid of. It's a gift and it's an ability. And that's also one of the reasons why I wrote my book as well, because I wish that back in those days growing up, that there were TV shows like mine, that there were people that could help, you know, teach us and help us to learn about the spirit world and about the signs and about what we sense and feel, because I believe that we all have psychic ability within us. We all have a channel or a way to connect with the other side. We just have to figure out what that is and how we personally connect to heaven.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, you look pretty bright-eyed this morning. I know you're a new daddy, and that is so exciting. How's that going?
Well, I got to tell you, it's a mix of no sleep and Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Oh, you lucky East Coasters get the Dunkin' Donuts. We don't have that where I'm at.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's what keeps us running. That's why we have the high energy on the East Coast.
Well, congratulations on that. Um, what else do you hope that people get out of this book? Because obviously there are a lot of questions that surround death. And I think a lot of it is always why? Like, why? Why now? Like it's, why did this happen now? And are people gonna start to, do you tell people how to kind of cultivate that relationship themselves so that they can have that inner peace and that direct connection, if you will, in their
Well,
own life?
Well, grief is a journey that we all have to go through. We all have to take, right? And what's so tough is this, is when we lose a loved one, grief sets in. And most people don't know that they're in grief. But what I can tell you is this, is that if you start questioning, is there a heaven? Is there an afterlife? Why did this happen? You know, if you question if whether or not you're ever going to see your loved one again, that's grief. And grief blocks you from receiving signs from your loved ones. Grief blocks you from communicating with them. It blocks you from receiving dreams from them. So what I'm hoping is that this book will open you up and show you, listen, don't listen to the grief. Don't listen to those negative thoughts. Believe what you're feeling in your heart, because that's what's true. And what I can tell you is this, what I can tell you is that this book is written by what the spirits have told me. And I think that if we can see things through their eyes and what they've learned on the other side, then we can also understand heaven for ourselves, which is so amazing and so cool. Because I can tell you this, I can tell you that our loved ones are with us every day. And when you realize that, it's life-changing.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. I love being able to feel our loved ones, my loved ones, especially in my day to day. And so I think that this is just beautiful. And I think, it's so incredible that you have chosen this life to share and give so much of yourself to other people. And I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can tell you, it's not just that. You know, I wrote this book for everybody who's grieving too, because I got to tell you, I've heard some terrible things as a medium. For example, recently a woman came up to me crying and said to me, Matt, you need to help me. She says, I need to know the truth. She says, so many people have told me that because my son committed suicide, that he's not in heaven.
Mm.
And that completely broke my heart, because I can tell you that I've had the honor of holding the hands of people who have lost people in tragedy just like that every day.
Mm.
And what I can tell you is that there's so much that we can learn about tragic passings. And, I read about this in my book because so many people are afraid to cross that line. They're afraid to talk about it. And there's so much misinformation out there. So this book is for anybody who's grieving. It's for anybody who wants to know the truth, and for anybody who wants to know one thing, that wants to know, about heaven, about the afterlife, and wants to know about their own connection and what their loved ones are doing in the spirit world.
Well, Matt, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. You're a beautiful human.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome, sweetie. You take care.
You too.
Thanks, Matt.